You know about the Aral Sea in Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan? No. Well, someone's not on the spectrum. It used to be the fourth largest lake in the world. It was a major source of industry in Central Asia, as most bodies of water are, all until a massive public policy failure of the Soviet Union. The rivers that filled the sea were diverted to irrigate cotton crops to make the region the largest cotton exporter in the world. And it worked. The cotton was irrigated and the region became a major exporter, but it also had the adverse effect of all but completely emptying the sea within 40 years. So now there's ex-seaport towns in the middle of the desert in Uzbekistan. Look at this one, it's called Minyok or some shit. Surreal though, used to be a fucking harbour town. Think about it, it's almost as if Sydney Harbour became like that Midnight Oil album cover. I got a new sensation! Oh, sorry, that's in excess. Whatever, the one with the grasshopper guy. This is a town that used to have a fishing industry that employed 30,000 people. Damn, almost as big of a metropolis as Albury. Now its population is just 13,500. And Tucker Carlson thought people were fleeing California. You kind of automatically think, whoa, what a failure of the Soviets. I'm glad that couldn't happen here. And then you remember, oh, that's right, we're the driest continent on Earth. We're run by a guy that would kill his own children just to get a week off work. And the most populous state is run by a spinster who probably thinks Manly is regional, with a deputy premier that thinks he represents the bush from Sydney Harbour. I told you 1,000 times, rush cutters means cutting the nuts off bulls! Anyway, what I'm trying to say is John Barilaro is worse than Brezhnev, fact. And if the Aral Sea was in New South Wales, it would be drier. Like Uzbekistan, Australia is one of the world's major cotton exporters. In fact, we're right next to Uzbekistan in the rankings. And do you know where most of that cotton is grown? The Northern Murray-Darling Basin. And it just so happens that that is the area that the National Party's base is located, because they have lots of money to give. Take for instance, when cotton farmer and Nationals donor Peter Harris was caught pumping water with a broken meter, the Nationals attempted to change the law retrospectively to give him more water rights, basically legalising his theft. All because he gave them money in the past. I couldn't think of a better constituency that perfectly encapsulates the National Party than thieves. And that was just a micro example. After it was found that floodplain harvesting is illegal, and by the way, because of the Nats, storages for this illegally harvested water have increased 140% since 1994. New South Wales Minister Melinda Pavey desperately attempted to legalise this crap, but it got voted down, as usual, thanks to Helen Dalton, but also, someone we haven't given enough of a shout out to, Independent King Justin Field. And in retaliation, the same coalition that faked indignation at Trump not respecting democracy attempted to put the motion through when Parliament couldn't disallow it. What I'm getting at is, our water mismanagement isn't creating the same cool post-apocalyptic landscape that it is in, say, Uzbekistan. It's much worse. New South Wales is littered with towns along the once prosperous southern Riverina and Deep West that have it worse than those ex-fishing towns in Central Asia. Take Vulcania in western New South Wales. Like those post-Soviet towns, it used to be prosperous. Formerly, it was the third largest inland port in the country. But you know what it's famous for now? Their life expectancy. 37 years for men, 41 for women. You know why it's so low apart from the criminal government neglect in terms of services? They have no water. Whilst upstream dams for cotton farmers are filled with stolen water, people are dying in Vulcania because they have no drinking water. The Indigenous community wrote a letter to Scott Morrison desperately asking for an embargo on the insane policies of allowing floodplain harvesting, water pumping, and river diversions for cotton farmers. But in complete, lazy, selfish Scott fashion, he ignored it. Hey, that's unfair. I said you might not have any drinking water because your ancient river is being destroyed by me and Gladys Berejiklian for some donations. But there you go. We're changing the national anthem to reflect the fact that the river we're destroying is ancient. Deadly, eh? Think about this. Foreign corporations and others, but mainly foreign corporations, are floodplain harvesting over 1 trillion litres of water. On top of what they legally own, in some cases, single foreign-owned upstream irrigation stations have been licensed for the equivalent of 184,000 Olympic swimming pools. That is 460 gigalitres, whilst the government does nothing to help towns downstream without enough water to fill a f***ing cup. Actually, it gets worse, because while Indigenous people make up almost 10% of the area's population, they own just a mere 0.2% of the water licenses. That's 12.1 gigalitres of water. One Chinese-owned company has 460 gigalitres, and 10% of the population that actually live in the area have 12.1 gigalitres. Oh, and if the Libs ever try and play the Red Scare again, just remember they let the Chinese own more of Cubby than Labor would have. I think that's proof enough the situation is worse than the Aral Sea, but you still might be going, but Joddies, the Aral Sea is cool because of the pics of it empty. No, we have our own pics because look, this was Vulcania in the past. It used to be able to carry boats. This is it on a good day now. Want to see some more pics? Yeah, that's what a river should look like, a road. I was Gladys Berejiklian or Michael McCormick or any coalition politician for that matter. I think I'd feel some sort of pang of guilt, maybe? These people actually have blood on their hands. Just to highlight how dire the situation is, the areas around where the Aral Sea once lay in Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan have some of the highest mortality rates and dips in life expectancies in the world. Yet they still have higher life expectancies than certain remote New South Wales communities like Vulcania. In 1999, Aral Sea, a city plagued by respiratory diseases brought up by the dust from the seabed, life expectancy dropped by 5 years to sit around 60 years old. In the Kizil-Orda region of Kazakhstan, life expectancy dropped as low as 50. These are some of the most unfortunate people in the world. Textbook examples of life expectancy drops. They're still beating Vulcania by decades. And remember, this was one of the largest environmental and public health disasters inherited by newly independent developing nations, and the situation has largely improved. Australia is one of the most developed nations on Earth. It is insanely wealthy, and we are making worse mistakes than the Soviet Union, even with the benefit of hindsight. And guess what else? The Aral Sea wasn't primarily the population's drinking water. It was too salty for that. The Murray-Darling Basin is. Secondly, despite the huge, gigantic public policy failure that was the murder of the Aral Sea, it was committed for an economically cogent region. It was expanding irrigation to increase cotton exports for ostensibly the good of everyone. And it worked. There is a case to be made that Uzbekistan prospered somewhat because of it. On top of that, at least the Soviet Union was listening to scientists. They predicted and prepared, albeit badly, for the death of fishing in the region. But the murder of the Murray-Darling, and in turn all the small basin towns around it, is being committed in the name of economic literacy. The closest rational explanation as to why this mass murder is being committed would be to benefit foreign irrigators and cotton growers in the northern basin. But unlike Uzbekistan, cotton growing in the northern basin isn't the most economically dominant industry that the Murray-Darling supports. In fact, when you look at the raw numbers, you see how insane the National Party is. The northern basin, 80% of its economy is based around cotton, and the GDP is $3 billion. That's what the Nationals are prioritising. That's the place that benefits most from legalising water theft and concentrating water in illegal dams and foreign corporations. The southern basin, which is dying because of these policies, has a GDP of $16 billion. It's over 5 times more valuable than the north. Farmers hate it, environmentalists hate it, irrigators hate it. The only people that seem to benefit from it are the politicians within the National Party who get donations from a few cotton farmers and foreign companies that now see our water resource, life source, as another asset like fucking Bitcoin to speculate on. Oh, and by the way, just to lighten the mood, these folks are capital gains tax exempt from the profit they make speculating on our water. No wonder you see people like Helen Dalton unseating National Party dynasties. It's because she understands the corruption needs to end. Anyway, I just thought I'd give you an introduction into this very bright and hopeful topic. I'll be having a big doco on this coming out soon, and eventually it should break some very big and scary stories. But just before that, this video is just to whet your appetite. Make sure that you like this video, because what's not to like, and subscribe to see how many times I can end with a shit water joke.
Please share and comment below. Comment.